Okay, so continuing on with the second part of Chapter 3 of Mental Vibrations. We still have about 10 pages to go, so let's go ahead and get through this. Okay, so here's where we were. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and read this whole paragraph again. Suppose that someone should desire to destroy the susceptibility of the tuning fork to the pitch of B flat, seeing that the tuning fork vibrates when B flat is struck on the piano. What would be more natural than for him to conclude that the piano alone is responsible for the behavior of the tuning fork, and from this premise to reason that by taking the piano or removing the tuning fork from the sphere of the piano's influence, the desired end will be accomplished and the tuning fork will no longer be affected by B flat. Nothing would be accomplished by such procedures, for the reasoning is from an erroneous premise. The susceptibility of the tuning fork to B flat has nothing to do with the environment, and no manipulation of environments can have any effect. There is just one way to make the tuning fork unresponsive to B flat, and that is to change its pitch. Personal consciousness is like the tuning fork. It has a certain pitch. This pitch is given at the moment of birth, and the elements that go to make up its peculiar nature determines its points of susceptibility to suggestion. The great range of possible suggestions under the classifications of heredity and environment, personality or race, will mean nothing to the personal consciousness unless the elements or qualities are presented which appeal to this particular consciousness as real. Then personal sense will respond by accepting the suggestions and manifesting the characteristics of the suggestion. There is a plane of thought constituting the animal plane. Here are actions and interactions which animals respond to, yet men know nothing of. Then we have the conscious thought plane. Here are almost limitless planes of thought to which we may be responsive. It is strictly the nature of our thinking that determines to which plane we shall respond. On this plane we have the thoughts of the ignorant, the wise, the poor, and so on. The number of thought planes is infinite, but the point is that when we think on a definite plane, we are responsive to thoughts on that plane, and the effect of the reaction is apparent in our environment. And how exactly do we bring ourselves onto specific planes of thought in which we want to, vibrate on? How do we bring ourselves onto higher planes of thinking which we want to receive thoughts on, from the infinite mind, which all thoughts which have ever existed and are still in existence are traveling through and around us right now. I know I mentioned this in another video, how we have the ability to think the thoughts of any sage, any teacher, anything that has ever been thought before can be thought again. We just need to be able to bring this thing into responsiveness with that vibration of thinking, in order for us to be in tune and for us to receive it. And remember how we were just going over earlier, in order to actually make ourselves responsive to higher thought planes is to raise our own thoughts ourselves, like we need to start thinking greater and more grandeur thoughts ourselves. We need to change our own structure. We need to change our own antenna and how it works, and we do that by the nature of our thinking. And this is by means no easy work. It's hard to change your mental habits, especially when it's just something that you just do automatically. You need to in a way force yourself to start thinking positive, because we're learning, it's science, that our antenna is responsive to every thought that we think. We need to do our best to make sure that our thoughts stay as positive and are as highly as possible, because that's basically our brain food. Whatever thoughts we think, we're feeding our own mind, or our own brain, you can say. And the more we kind of like how your mind is a garden and you plant the seed, and the more you plant the seed and the more you keep watering that seed with the same thoughts, it's sooner or later it's going to grow into a harvest, become a part of who you are, becoming an habitual way of thinking, because you form the circuit within your mind. Now you have the structure within your brain. Now it's just how your neural pathways are functioning, like Let's continue. Consciousness is positive, active, changeful, and outgoing, and activity, will in action, volition, and conation are terms applicable to it. In many cases, it is only a reaction on the part of the environment. For instance, food is part of the environment, and its rejection is a reaction against the environment. This is sometimes called will, but it is not the same metaphysical will, which is controlled from within, uninfluenced by attractions and repulsions in the environment. I've read this already. Relation, therefore, is the essence of this aspect of consciousness, and just as action may be of two kinds, to separate and to bring together, and just as feelings may be of two kinds, agreeable and disagreeable, there may be two kinds of relation, those of similarity and dissimilarity. It is evident that actions that separate, feelings that are disagreeable, and relations of dissimilarity are all obviously separative, individualizing and correspond to the downward arc, while actions that unite, feelings that are agreeable, and relations that are of similarity are integrative and upbuilding. Around you, as the center of it all, the world without revolves. Organized life, people, thoughts, sounds, light, the universe itself with its numberless millions of phenomena are sending out vibrations towards you. Vibrations of love, of hate, thoughts good and bad, wise and unwise, true and untrue. These vibrations are directed towards you, by the smallest as well as the greatest, the farthest and the nearest. A few of them reach you, but the rest pass by, and as far as you are concerned, are lost. Hold on. I have read this before. Corey. Because now I'm debating whether I should just stop it right here, because I've already made a video for this chapter, or if I should just use this one instead of the one before. It is what it is, huh? Here. Let's just continue. We're already in the middle of this, so... Now, I know for a fact on this part, these vibrations are directed towards you, okay? I know, I remember saying this in the video I made before. I'll probably just end up using this one. And I'll just share this part, because you could feel it when somebody's like watching you. You can feel it when somebody's observing you. You know, you feel their mind. You know, and I was mentioning this too, because one day when we were meditating, your mind has like fingers, you know, and whatever you are putting your focus attention on, whatever your consciousness is focused on, you know, your mind like reaches its fingers out to grab that. You know, you're like grabbing it with your mind, you know, your mind fingers, you know, like not your physical, but your mind, and you can feel like the energy of somebody else that's observing you, because their mind is reaching out towards you, you know, their energy, you know, and you could definitely feel that energy, you know, when you look up, and yeah, sure enough, there's somebody staring right at you. Okay, let's continue. Some of these vibrations are essential to your health, your power, your success, your happiness. How is it that they pass you by? Luther Burbank said, quote, "We are all just beginning to realize what a wonderful machine is the human brain. We are at the threshold of knowledge, but until yesterday we were outside. The human race has been broadcasting and receiving, perhaps millions of years without knowing, but suffering all the while from bad thoughts sent. The radio, well, but a very simple instrument is compared with the brain, is helping us to understand what the brain has always been doing." End quote. Quote, and now this is still from Luther Burbank. Those who are familiar with the radio know what jamming means. The crowding into a narrow wave belt of the great many sending stations, all operating at once. Since we are all transmitting every time we think, it is obvious that the jamming in wavelength belts used by radio transmitters is as nothing compared with the din made by 1.5 billion human brains. Din may seem to be a strange word to use in connection with the ether over a quiet meadow, for instance, but those who know how to operate radio receiving stations will understand. So he's using the term din to signify a certain amount of ether of which is being covered by these vibrations, No matter how much jamming is going on, a radio receiving set is as the grave until it is adjusted and made resonant by establishing harmony within it. The silence may then change into what may be seen to be almost screaming, end quote. Quote, and this is still by Luther Burbank. With everybody broadcasting at once, it follows that the ether must be the surrounding chamber into which is crowded every kind of human thought. As we do not broadcast with the same intensity, it follows that the weaker vibrations must be drowned out by the stronger ones. Weak thoughts must soon fall flat, while strong ones may go to the ends of the earth. But it seems logical to believe that thoughts, held in common by millions, may, because of their identical nature, swell into the tremendous course, even though the human transmitters may not individually be very strong senders, end quote. We easily recognize three phases of consciousness, between each of which there are enormous differences. Okay, so everything that Luther Burbank said, he was basically saying, just as a radio, if you're Air One being my favorite radio station, if you listen to Air One, Air One has their this is Air One right here. It's their pillar for where they're releasing off their radio vibrations, playing their songs. And you are this car thousands and thousands of miles away, tuning into Air One, the vibrations that are being sent off by this huge transmitter, and you're over here tuning in your radio to 92.7, that's the Air One station, okay, and as your antenna comes into harmony with the vibration of this transmitting station, that is how you are able to receive the song in your car. The same thing here with us, all these, like the solar, we are all the transmitters, and the solar fluid is the giant transmitter, we're like individual transmitter receivers. We have to come into harmony, into unity with this universal substance. We have to become one with this cosmic being, because we are one with this being. We just need to bring ourselves into conscious awareness of it, and be able to identify ourselves with it in such a manner to where we become so in tune with it that it just comes to us. It's just, you receive it automatically. That is kind of how that is exactly what all of this is going over. Now we're going to go over the three phases of consciousness which we know in existence on this planet. So 1, there is simple consciousness, which all animals possess in common. It is a sense of existence by which we recognize that, quote, we are, end quote, and that we are where we are, and by which we perceive the various objects and varied scenes and conditions. 2, there is self-consciousness, possessed by all mankind except infants, and the mentally deficient. This gives the power of self-contemplation, the effect of the world without upon our world within. Self contemplates self, amongst many other results. Language has thus come into existence, each word being a symbol for a thought or an idea. Now that makes a lot of sense, because infants aren't yet at a stage where they're thinking for themselves. The conscious portion of their mind hasn't yet been developed to a certain level to where they're making their own decisions. Like a child, their subconscious mind is completely open. They're like a sponge, and they're soaking in everything, because they're watchmen at the gate, so you can speak. Hasn't yet developed itself. It hasn't yet got to the point where it's okay, I'm going to accept this and I'm not going to accept that. Their children are still in the stage of everything. They're accepting everything. Everything you do, everything you say, everything they watch, they're like sponges, they're soaking it in, and like that, it becomes a part of who they are as they're growing up from the beginning. you know, and that could definitely set the stage for an individual's life, you know, for the rest of their lives, because they were in quote unquote, you could say programmed. They were programmed to think that way, to be that way at a very, very young age, before they develop the ability to choose who exactly it is that they want to become. Okay, so this next one, 3, cosmic consciousness. This form of consciousness is as much above self-consciousness as self-consciousness is above simple consciousness. It is as different from either as sight is different from hearing or touching. Neither by simple consciousness or by self-consciousness can one get any notion of cosmic consciousness. It is not like either of them, any more than sight is like hearing. A deaf man can never learn of the value of music by means of his sense of touch, of sight or touch. Cosmic consciousness is all forms of consciousness, being it's this rock as well as this book. You know, it is the air as well as the water. You know, it's all one thing. It overrides time and space, for apart from the body and of the world of matter. Far apart from the body and the world of matter, these do not exist. It is something that just is. It has no. Its identity is no identity. You know, it's simply. It is all forms of consciousness, and it is underneath. You know, the giver of all form of consciousness. The immutable law of consciousness is that in the degree that the consciousness is developed, so is the development of power in the subjective and its consequent manifestation in the objective. Meaning, the more and more that this consciousness grows and becomes, you know, stronger in life, you know, the more you develop as a soul, okay, the more you have power, the subjective, the more you'll be able to the more power you will have within yourself, you know, and the more power you'll be able to bring out of yourself into the objective, the more manifestation you'll be able to create in this outer world. Cosmic consciousness is the result of creation and the necessary conditions so that the universal mind may function in the direction desired. If you do not seem to grasp the application of the law of vibration in the thought world, if you do not know how to change the rate of vibration, remember that every thought changes the rate of vibration. As you think greater, deeper, higher, and more forceful thoughts, the brain cells are reformed. They become more powerful, and they are enabled to receive finer vibrations, how we were going over earlier. This is true not only in the mental world, but in the physical world. As the ear becomes trained in music, it is enabled to receive finer vibrations, until the trained musician can hear harmonies of sound of which the ordinary person is entirely unaware. Planetary vibrations act chiefly upon the nervous system, which is governed or responsive to the planet of Mercury. The nervous system is the messenger of the mind, and through the mind is transmitted the intelligent impulses which know how to direct the actions of the various organs of the body so as to bring about appropriate responses in the organs selected and the functions involved. It's funny how he says planetary vibrations act chiefly upon the nervous system. Okay, remember how we were talking about the 7 gates, okay, or the 7 governors, your 7 chakra systems within yourself. Okay, and there you have 7 major nerve ganglia along your spinal column. Okay, and you see 7 nerve ganglia, which the energies of these planets, you know, these gigantic batteries are being distributed throughout your nervous system. Okay, and you also have 7 major nerve ganglia within the body. Okay, or not ganglia, I just said that. Okay, so not only do you have 7 major nerve ganglia, but you also have 7 major endocrine glands within the body that respond to the receptions of this 7 nerve ganglia, okay, releasing and vibrating in tune with whatever it is that you're spiritually vibrating to. You know, you materially vibrate to that which you spiritually vibrate to, as we can say. If you wish to be strong, the subconscious mind acts upon the tendency indicated that you will unconsciously do those things which will manifest strength. Every thought finds expression in the degree of its monopoly. Hence, if you very much want and desire strength, you must give the thoughts of strength form, purpose, and power. You must give the thought of strength a monopoly. The general principle by which an idea is preserved is vibratory, like all other phenomena of nature. Every thought causes a vibration that will continue to expand and contract in wave circles, like the waves started by a stone dropped in a pool of water. Waves from other thoughts may counteract it, or it may finally succumb of its own inanition. Subconscious thought is received by any organ of the body affected, and think of the mechanism with which you are provided, and which can and does objectify the thought received. First, the millions of cell chemists ready and waiting to carry out the instructions received. Next, a complete system of communication, consisting of the vast sympathetic nervous system, reaching every fiber of the being and ready to respond to the slightest emotion of joy or fear, of hope or despair, of courage or impotence. Next, a complete manufacturing plant consisting of the series of glands wherein are manufactured all the secretions necessary for the use of the chemists, and carrying out the instructions which are given. Then the complete digestive tract wherein food, water, and air are converted into blood, bone, skin, hair, and nails. Finally, the supply department which constantly sends a supply of oxygen, nitrogen, and ether into every part of the being. And the wonder of it all is that the ether holds in solution everything necessary for the use of the chemist. For the ether holds in pure form, and food, water, and air in secondary form, every element necessary for the production of the perfect individual. So food, water, and air are things that come from the ether. And everything that the individual is the manifestations of food, water, and air, which comes from the ether put together. You are also provided with a complete equipment for the elimination of waste and useless material, as well as a complete repair department. In addition to this, you have a complete system of wireless, whereby you are connected with every other subconscious entity in existence. You are not usually conscious of the operation of this wireless, but the same thing is true concerning the operations of the Marconi system. There may be music of every kind in the air, but unless you make use of the amplifier, you receive no message. And so with your subconscious wireless. Unless you try to coordinate the conscious and subconscious, you fail to realize that the subconscious is constantly receiving messages of some kind, and just as constantly objectifying the message in your life and environment. Try the following exercise. Lie down quietly, relax completely, mind and body. Breathe naturally. If the mind is at all tense or strained, results cannot be obtained. The mind must relax for the flow of inspiration. And a little bit of example as to why, okay. Go back to a time where you found yourself, you're a little frustrated about something, okay, and during this time of frustration, your mind is just on this object of frustration. You're not actually paying attention to what's happening around you, or really as much as to what you're doing, because you're so focused on this frustration. And from this focus of frustration, you end up misplacing something. You end up losing something. You end up getting into a hurry. You may be late for work, and you shoot out the door, and you're flying, you're driving down the street, and you end up forgetting something here, because you're in a state of hurry, you're in a state of frustration, you're not calm, your mind is contracted, okay, but when we're relaxed, when we're calm, our mind expands, we're not so focused on what we're frustrated about, but our mind is open to what's happening around us, and that's really what is responsible for us not misplacing things and not forgetting things when we leave, because we're still, we're in, I don't want to say in harmony, but basically we're not, our mind isn't in a state where it's not paying attention to what's happening now, okay, like it's in a state to where it is into what's happening right now, I know that made sense. I know you guys got that. Sooner or later, there will be a warm, magnetic sensation throughout the body. As you progress, you will lose a sense of the body altogether, and the breathing will grow less in volume, and finally, the conscious breath will cease. You will be in silence. Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me. Come on, Corey, at the end, you decide to burp right now? Yeah, I know. As you progress, you will lose a sense of the body altogether. The breathing will grow less in volume, and finally the conscious breath will cease. You will be in the silence, can go where you please and return at will. You may roam in mind through the subjective world of thought, the world within. You will be in tune with cosmic consciousness. You will be in tune with the infinite. And now we are ending with a lovely poem called You, and it says, "You are whole, perfect, strong, and powerful. You are unfettered, unbound, triumphant, free. You are flawless, fearless, courageous, undaunted, and victorious. You are youthful, vigorous, smiling, buoyant, and splendid. You are active, energetic, lively, independent, and sagacious. You are loyal, tactful, alert, contented, and considerate. You are renewed, regenerated, recreated, inspired, and transformed. You are refreshed, invigorated, loving, harmonious, and happy. Yes, wondrously happy. And you have found the elixir of life, the philosopher's stone, the life abundant, the fountain of youth." Alright, now, here's something I would like you guys to do. I would like you to take that word "you," which he used at the beginning of each sentence, and change it to "I am." I am whole, perfect, strong, and powerful. I am unfettered, unbound, triumphant, and free. I am flawless, fearless, courageous, undaunted, and victorious. Okay, and so on and so forth. Because we are, we are the I am of the I am that I am. I am that I am. What is that? We've learned that that's the name of God. The Exodus 3:15, that this is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations, and that we are all embodiments of and reflections of this universal spirit. Our spirit, our soul, is a perfect reflection of what God is, and He created us to create just as He created, and we have the ability to say that we are, I am this, like every day I am strong. 'Cause remember, you're building that your instrument to be that, okay, and you take on that form, and you just are. And that you do when you're alone, but of course when you're with others, you change it to "we are," because there is no I in team, right? So we are whole, perfect, strong, and powerful. We are unfettered, unbound, triumphant, and free. We are flawless, fearless, courageous, undaunted, and victorious. And most importantly, we are the lights of the world. You and me, and together we can make a difference, and it starts with us. Now that is the end of this chapter, okay, on mental vibrations. I've read this thing twice. I think I'm going to use this one, and with that being said, that's the end of this chapter. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I know it's not a short video, but the information that we cover is definitely very, very important. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I got to start getting ready. I got to leave in about a half hour. I have 2 clients today. I believe I did mention it in another video that I'm doing this on my own now, like training people. I go to their house. I go to the park. And the client I have today, she's out in LA, so it's going to be quite a drive. And the second client I have is in Baldwin Park, so I'll be able to stop there on my way back home, which works out perfectly. That being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy, and keep growing.